Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here, and now it is official, the next mini coming to Warcraft Rumble, the Season 5 seasonal mini, is Faerie Dragon. Well, everybody knew that because of the teasers already, but in this video I'm going to take a look at all the details about Faerie Dragon, and some details about Cenarios? What is this thing? Because Faerie Dragon does not belong to any of the existing families. Quite the contrary, Faerie Dragon is the first mini of a brand new family coming to Warcraft Rumble, and that's the Cenarion family. I'm going to talk a little bit more about Cenarion family a little bit later. Let's talk about Faerie Dragon first. So Faerie Dragon costs 3 gold, it has traits of Flying, Elemental, Resistant, and then 2 brand new traits, Nullify and Detect Stealth. So what do these mean? Nullify. Nullify makes Faerie Dragon immune to poison, burn, stun, and slow effects. So none of that works on Faerie Dragon. You just have to play fair and square against this one. And Detect Stealth. Detect Stealth is actually curious. It means that Faerie Dragon can attack stealth enemies. However, it's not a passive removal of stealth. Just because there's a Faerie Dragon around, your stealth minis suddenly don't become unstealthed. However, when Faerie Dragon attacks them, when they take damage, as the game has worked already before, for example, if you had Quillbore with the poison talent, you have been able to unstealth minis by dealing poison damage to them, then they become unstealthed when they take damage. The same thing applies here. Faerie Dragon can see them, and when Faerie Dragon attacks them and they take damage, they become unstealthed, and then your other minis can attack them as well. So, yeah, anti-stealth and some anti-poison mechanics, intriguing. Faerie Dragon is a fairly squishy mini. It has 180 health, so it's between Griffin Rider and Bat Rider at 170 and Pyromancer at 200. None of those are known for lasting much more than one hit. However, Faerie Dragon does have the Resistant trait, which means that if you drop a Safe Pilot on Faerie Dragon actually does not die to it, unlike all of those other examples that just crumble against Safe Pilot. However, 180 health means that equal level Safe Pilot, Crash plus the shot, or Crash plus the burn effect, together those are just enough to kill Faerie Dragon. Faerie Dragon's damage output is actually quite mediocre. It deals 170 damage, that's elemental single target damage. It can hit both ground and air targets, so that is an important asset. It has range of only 5, so not very long range at all. One of the shortest range casters there are. At 1.5 attack speed, that means that Faerie Dragon has DPS of 113.3, which is around the same as something like Baron Rivendare or a single Harpy. A single Harpy deals the same damage as a Faerie Dragon, essentially. So it's more of a support unit with that stealth detection, some damage, both air and ground, but not a big damage dealer by itself. However, it has some really interesting talents, primarily the Fae Blessing talent. Grant resist to a nearby ally, ability has 1 charge. So this is the exact same talent as Shaman talent that gives armored to a friendly, and this one is going to give resistant. And that Shaman talent is totally bonkers. It's used in many heroics. It's a solution to a whole bunch of things when you can turn something into armored. This one turning something into resistant. Also, this is going to be an absolutely game-changing talent for specific encounters. Encounters where you want resistant tanks, for example, and granting resist with this, that's just going to be incredibly powerful. Faerie Dragon otherwise pretty decent support unit, so this is going to be really great talent. I mean, this is going to be awesome. Just think about the implications, for example, for Onyxia fight, where there's a lot of elemental damage, and now you can turn something into resistant. I mean, you can already do, of course, Dragisat Death Balls. Dragisat is already resistant, but now you can turn anything else into resistant too. So this is going to open up so many interesting strategies in various encounters. Then there's Invisibility, which gives Faerie Dragon stealth. So this stealth works the same way that, for example, stealth on a Huntress works. So Faerie Dragon starts in stealth, then it engages in combat, it comes out of stealth, and if it's out of combat for a little while, then it re-stealths itself. And stealth is a powerful mechanic, allows you to approach unseen, allows you to approach without taking damage. I have loved stealth a lot on Prowler, on Huntress, and I think this is going to be a great talent for when you don't need to make something resistant. So this would probably be the go-to talent if you just want to buff up the performance of your Faerie Dragon alone. The final talent is Phase Shift, teleport backwards when attacked. This is similar to Jaina's talent, but that talent hasn't proven to be very useful. And Faerie Dragon also has very low range. So if something ranged attacks Faerie Dragon teleports backwards, then Faerie Dragon needs to close in again, and that ranged unit is going to be able to shoot first because Faerie Dragon's range is so small. So then yeah, that I'm not very impressed by this talent, at least so far at all. Which basically means that Fae Blessing is going to be the #1 choice, because you want that ability to turn minis into resistant minis. It's not useful in all encounters, but when it's useful, there's nothing that can replace it. And then the invisibility, because stealth is generally a very strong ability, really buffs up the Faerie Dragon itself. And the last pick would be the teleportation, because that just doesn't seem very strong at all. I think this talent so far, at least, they seem much more clear-cut than many of the previous minis. Fairly simple talents, although some of them very powerful. So overall, I like Faerie Dragon. It can situationally be a very strong mini. That's stealth detection, also for heroics like Maiev, for example, making resistant tanks, so a lot of utility packed into this mini, and I really look forward to playing with this one, and I think it's going to make it into teams for several encounters. Faerie Dragon also introduces us to the brand new family, the Cenarion family. However, do note that in the schedule for the dungeons for the next season, for the next 6 weeks, there is no mention of Cenarion family, so Cenarion family is not going to have a leader yet. But maybe in season 6, hopefully. Anyway, what is the Cenarion family? Cenarion means of Cenarius, so it's all built around Cenarius, and Cenarius is one of the most powerful demigods of Azeroth. Cenarius is the son of the moon goddess Elune and Malorn, the demigod's great stag Malorn. Cenarius is heavily connected with the Emerald Dream. Cenarius also taught elves how to be druids, and he leads the Cenarion Circle, which is the druidic order of all races of druids, Night Elves, Taurens, Trolls, Humans, Vogons. All druids respect and follow Cenarius. Cenarius is also the father of Dryads and father of Keepers of the Grove, so those are very intimately tied to Cenarius. There are a lot of characters in the Warcraft lore that are tied to Cenarius and Cenarion Circle, so possible Cenarion leaders could include Cenarius himself, then Malfurion Stormrage. Okay, well, Malfurion is well known for being an Alliance member, but then druids are typically Alliance or Horde members, but they're also druids, so I suppose some of these characters could hop over the Cenarion family instead of their Alliance or Horde faction in WoW. So Malfurion Stormrage would be a very iconic character. Hamul Rune Totem, a Tauren druid, also fairly iconic. Then if we stretch a little bit further, then we could think about other druids like War Druid Lodi, who is a troll druid, not so much directly tied to Cenarius, but I mean, true being a druid, then of course, then maybe we could have Malorn, Cenarius' father, the Great Stag, Keeper Remulus, Cenarius' most famous son. The Cenarion leader that I would wish for the game the most, though, would have to be Haln High Mountain. Haln High Mountain was an ancient Tauren hero, who was not a druid, but he was blessed. He and all of his offspring were blessed by Cenarius for his great deeds during War of the Ancients. In World of Warcraft, you actually get to play as Haln High Mountain when you go on these vision trips, and then you see to the past, and then you act as Haln and defeat demons. And Hald is just a wonderful character and has some ties to Cenarion Circle as well and Cenarius, so that would be awesome. But even if Blizzard were to take a pretty safe path, then Cenarius, Malfurion, Hamul, that would already be a bunch of leaders. So there are a lot of Cenarion characters available. This is a fairly well fleshed out faction overall in World of Warcraft, so there's plenty of stuff that could be built for Warcraft Rumble as well. And in addition to leaders, there's of course troops. There's a lot of potential Cenarion troops. The Faerie Dragon, of course, now has been confirmed. Keepers of the Grove, sons of Cenarius, Dryads and Nymphs, the daughters of Cenarius, then various Treants could be a thing, Ancients of Lore, Ancients of War, okay, associated with Night Elf and then Alliance, but also Cenarius, then all sorts of druids of the Claw, druids of the Fang, that's just tons of druid factions that could be there, and all sorts of shape-shifting druids as well, so they could come in many shapes and sizes. And if we really stretch out a little bit, then even centaurs and mechanotaurs, who are descendants of Cenarius in a way. Centaurs, for example, are the offspring of Zetar, who is the son of Cenarius, together with Teradras, who is an earth elemental princess. Yeah, that was a curious match. And oh boy, there would be actually a lot of Cenarion troops that Blizzard could introduce to the game, and I'm quite excited about this. I mean, the more I think about Cenarion faction, it's going to be a really awesome faction potentially. The big question, of course, is just when. When are we going to get on? Like, again, we have this great stuff coming, but when? When is it coming? Because in the next 6 weeks, there was no dungeon for Cenarion, so we just don't know when more minis are coming. And they do need a bunch of minis in order to be able to get leaders with the family army slots, and yeah, and I just don't know when. So, what we know so far, Season 5 coming with Faerie Dragon, and that's of course quite exciting, but it is still just the seasonal mini. All the Cenarion faction stuff is not yet here. And then there's the things that we don't know about yet, but we assume are coming soon, because Blizzard posted this teaser to Twitter yesterday, and as you can see if you know World of Warcraft, that is the portal to Darkmoon Fair. But what kind of fair? When? I expect we will find out soon. Thank you for watching. Click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and a special thanks to all of my Patreon supporters, YouTube members and Twitch subscribers who make all of these videos possible.